Now, victims of the contaminated blood scandal have met the Health Minister Robin Swann to discuss claims that hundreds of thousands of pounds is being withheld by his department. Last month, the Finance Minister Conor Murphy announced that £1 million would be made available with immediate effect to address the disparity in infected bloody support payments between here and the rest of the UK. Campaigners saying £400,000 of this is being held back and they want to know why. So we're going to have a bit more on that in a moment. We're going to hopefully speak to Paul Kirkpatrick. He's from Derry. He was part of that delegation. We'll pause that for a moment though. We'll get a quick travel update though.
Yes, the Colmore Point Road in Derry will be closed between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. today from the Colmore Road to the Colleen Park. That's while work is carried out by NI Water. The A1 White Park Road near Bush Mills is closed. That's from White Park Road roundabout to the Dunder Rave Road. Diversions are in place. And there is a lane closure on the Four Glen Road on the A6. That's from Glenshane Road to Gulf Road. So drivers can expect some delays.
Harry McCarthy there. Thank you very much for that. Now, let's get back to that contaminated blood story I was talking about there, because we now have Paul Kirkpatrick from Derry, was born with severe haemophilia. Paul, appreciate you joining the programme this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Paul, can you explain first of all, so as I was talking about, there's the Finance Minister Conor Murphy, now he announced £1 million would be available to address the disparity in infected blood support payments. What is the disparity?
So within Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland, they each run their own support schemes for people who've been contaminated with blood since the 1980s. And Northern Ireland is essentially bottom of that league. So in many individuals, there could be a massive difference of up to 5 times the amounts of money. And we're talking quite significant amounts of money of support schemes and discretionary grants and help that's given to people in each of those 4 nations. So Scotland have led the way. They have provided some excellent support for widows. The other 3 countries do not have any support whatsoever for widows. Mm-hmm. And those who have been affected, as I say, in Northern Ireland, receive about 5 times less than those in England. So Conor Murphy was one of his first acts within his remit as part of the New Deal, New Approach document was to bring parity within Northern Ireland to that of England. So he ring-fenced the money, handed over to the Department of Health, and for some unknown reason, they held back 40% of that money. And they're still holding back that money, which needs to be spent in this financial year. And we're trying to seek answers as to why.
So by this financial year, you would mean the end of March. And so you met with, you were part of that delegation that met with the Health Minister Robin Swann yesterday. And I know you raised some of these points with him. How did that meeting go?
This was a very emotional meeting. I think what people forget, and I know you headline it with money, but this is individual people's health. And it's not a historic issue. This is a current issue. There's 1 person every 4 days dying with these diseases that were contaminated from the 1980s. People are dealing with haemophilia and other conditions stacked upon them. They've had longer term impacts of treatments to clear the virus. The impacts, the psychological impacts and stigmatism of HIV, hepatitis, CJD. And many people are still not prepared to admit in public beyond their own immediate family that they have these illnesses. So yesterday was a tremendously emotional meeting. Halfway through the meeting, the Minister actually went out and got some psychological support in for the people in the room, because in fairness to him, he did say, I've read reports, I've seen spreadsheets, but I want to hear it from the people themselves. And I believe he got a shock because, I say, it was very emotional. A lot of individuals breaking down, and every time we go to these meetings, people tell their personal stories, and it's tough. It really, really is tough, and people struggle, and they're now, and this financial aspect of it, which is only one small aspect of people's health, is really a straw that's breaking the people's back, because people are beginning to feel more and more like second-class citizens because they get contaminated by the government, and are now having to chase the government to help them to manage their lives and keep their families secure for whenever people aren't here.
Paul, I wish we had much more time to talk to you, but I've one more quick question to ask you. We did ask to speak to the Health Minister Robin Swann this morning. We were told he wasn't available, but he did say that firm assurances have been given that recently allocated £1 million will be spent in full on support for Northern Ireland victims during this financial year, but did say that will not by itself secure parity of support with victims across the UK, support schemes differing across regions. Is there any reassurance for you?
I think his attitude and behaviour was very positive. I think he's been given very wrong advice, and I can only hope that he goes back and re-looks at that advice with a different set of glasses on. So he committed to come back within a few weeks, and I believe he will. So You can phone me in 2 weeks' time again, and I'll tell you.
We will certainly do
tell
that.
You then.
Paul Kirkpatrick, I always appreciate your time from Derry there. Born with severe haemophilia, part of that delegation. And just to go through what we were talking to Robin Swann about, so we asked if he was available for interview. He wasn't available this morning. He did say very aware of the hurt and the divergences caused to victims in Northern Ireland, and he's committed to providing better support. He gave firm assurances that recently allocated £1 million would be spent in full in support during this financial year, and that the £1 million may not be by itself enough to secure parity support with victims across the UK. There are UK-wide discussions on continuing how to achieve greater parity throughout the UK, and Minister Swann is fully committed to those discussions.